So it's good for our equity, it's good for Bitcoin, and it's good for investors.
Срочные новости. Майкл Сейлор только что на 100% изменил правила игры для принятия биткоина.
I think over the next 4 years, everything you could want that's good is going to happen. So the idea that you could actually buy Bitcoin at 80,000 right now is a joke.
Если у тебя есть биткоин, обязательно посмотри сегодняшнее видео до конца. Это касается тебя. Новости такие. Сейлор объединился с компанией Rex Shares и представил BMAX ETF. Первый в истории фонд ETF, который позволяет как частным, так и институциональным инвесторам вкладываться в конвертируемые облигации компаний, у которых биткоин на балансе. Этот фрагмент CNBC от 22 числа подробно объясняет, что это за продукт.
And now a new first-of-its-kind ETF is giving investors access to convertible corporate bonds issued by companies holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. It's the Rex Bitcoin Corporate Treasury Convertible Bond ETF, ticker BMAX. Top holdings include bonds from companies like Strategy, Mira Holdings, and Riot Platforms. And it was developed in partnership with Strategy's executive chair Майкл Сейлор.
Не сомневайся, этот продукт революционный. Зачем он нужен инвесторам? Послушай, как Майкл Сейлор объясняет это прямо здесь.
Okay, so corporate convertible debt bond ETFs exist, but this is the first one, Michael, that is for specifically companies holding Bitcoin. Is that right? Why do investors need this?
We were the largest issuer of convertible bonds last year. We're the largest issuer of convertible bonds this year. Our convertible bonds are the best performing converts, probably the best performing bonds issued in the past 5 to 10 years. And it turns out that Strategy's convertible bonds have outperformed Bitcoin over this time period since issuance. And so you get Bitcoin performance, but you get the downside protection of a bond. I think this is really critical. And this ETF is really important because retail investors could never buy these bonds, and institutional investors have a difficult time buying the bonds. So BMAX is it's plugging an important gap in the entire crypto economy because it's providing easy institutional access and retail access to all of these crypto or Bitcoin-backed convertible bonds. I think it'll be good for the investors, it'll be good for the issuers, and it'll be good for Bitcoin in general.
Пойми правильно, что это за биткоин-продукт. Он сочетает стабильность долговых инструментов с потенциальной прибылью от роста акций, связанной с рынком биткоина. Это еще один важный шаг к полной интеграции биткоина в традиционные финансовые рынки. Дадим Майклу Сейлору объяснить, как на этом можно заработать. Очень интересно наблюдать, какие финансовые продукты на основе биткоина создаются сегодня. Еще 4 года назад все это казалось несбыточной мечтой.
What is an example of how an investor could make money on this kind of strategy, holding the convertible debt, versus holding Bitcoin, or versus holding your shares, or holding your shares through a leveraged position? I don't know if you can give us some illustrative math.
When you're holding the convertible bond, you're getting like a 70 delta instrument sometimes. So you're getting like 70% of the upside of the equity, but you've got the downside protection. And that means you might be getting all of the upside of BTC because Strategy is geared to kind of be 1.5x Bitcoin. So if you want a 1.5x roller coaster, 1.5 volatility, 100 vol, and you want to shoot for what's been 90 to 100% ARR, you take the MSTR equity. If you want straight BTC, you buy BTC or you buy a spot Bitcoin ETF, and it's like 60 vol, 60 ARR. But if you like the idea of kind of getting the upside but having downside protection, you need a company with Bitcoin on its balance sheet to sell you a convertible bond that gives you that upside warrant, but then gives you the credit protection. And that's what this convertible bond fund is all about.
Итак, чем больше таких финансовых продуктов выходит на рынок и чем успешнее они становятся, тем лучше для цены биткоина и для баланса спроса и предложения вокруг него.
And of course, as you know, the more capital we raise via this mechanism, the more Bitcoin we buy,
right,
and more intelligent leverage we get. So it's good for our equity, it's good for Bitcoin, and it's good for investors. So I think it's a win-win-win.
То, что ты все еще можешь купить биткоин в районе $80 тысяч, это просто шутка. По крайней мере, по мнению Майкла Сейлора. Особенно если учитывать, какие финансовые продукты на основе биткоина будут представлены, интегрированы и запущены в ближайшие 4 года.
Really kind of in a perfect inflection point, because it's not a slow motion train wreck, because that's the wrong metaphor. It's the opposite of a slow motion train wreck. It's a slow motion parade of wonderful things. They're all going to happen. We know they're going to happen. There's a 98% chance they're going to happen. I just can't tell you exactly the date they'll happen, but I think over the next 4 years, everything you could want that's good is going to happen. And so the market is discounting that. The market doesn't believe any of that. Right? So the idea that you could actually buy Bitcoin at 80,000 right now is a joke. What I said is, when the bank lets you buy it, when Bank of America lets you buy it, and you can just order it and buy $1 billion at a time, it'll cost you $1 million. And when the bank, when your traditional banker recommends it to you because it's growing 20% a year and it's risk-free in their opinion, it's going to cost you $10 million. And so you can wait until it's easy and risk-free and you'll pay 100 times as much. Or you can do the research and jump through a few hoops right now for Bitcoin and you get a 99% discount. With all these other things.
Честно говоря, я удивлен, насколько многие настроены пессимистично. Даже Том Ли уверен, что биткоин и криптовалюта на 100% станут самым прибыльным классом активов в этом году.
From the shorter lens, this incoming administration, I think, is doing things that look very disruptive at the moment, but I think structurally are really positive. Because it's a path for U.S. deficit to normalize, and I think indeed animal spirits are coming back, even though things like these consumer confidence reports don't show it. And we know that there is tangible drivers of productivity, including AI, in front of us that justify investors allocating capital. And of course, there's still plenty of disruption ahead, including crypto. And, I think Bitcoin is still our favorite idea for this year. So we think it'll be the best performing asset class, even better than gold.
Миллиардер и инвестор Тим Дрейпер считает, что цена биткоина все еще достигнет $250 000 000 к концу этого года, потому что фиатная валюта со временем только теряет в стоимости.
People want a prediction, sure, 250,000 by the end of this year. But
end of 2025.
Yeah, but what's really going on is we should really be not comparing it to the dollar anymore, because the dollar is, all fiat currencies are going to fall against Bitcoin. They continue to fall against Bitcoin. People look at Bitcoin versus the dollar, they're looking at the Bitcoin price in dollars. If you look at it slightly differently, you flip it around, Bitcoin's to the dollar, you see the dollar just falling off the map. But people aren't looking at it that way. I think you should be comparing Bitcoin to, how much, a dozen eggs or whatever it is. I think that's a better way to imagine it, because it's almost not fair to compare Bitcoin to the dollar, because if you believe, as I do, that the dollar is an antiquated currency that is not long for this world, in the next 5, 10, 50 years, that's not even a fair comparison.
А теперь оставлю вас с последней мудрой мыслью, с финальным инсайтом от самого Майкла Сейлора. Вот где настоящая альфа.
So about this possible winter, are you really not feeling the cold?
Look, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, a short time horizon is 4 years, a mid-time horizon is 10 years. The right time horizon is forever. Warren Buffett said, if you wouldn't hold it for 10 years, you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. So if you look at the course of 4 years, no one's ever lost money over 4 years holding Bitcoin. And if you look at, our experience, we started buying it at $10,000 and now it's up by a factor of 4. So given the right time horizon, you're fine. So it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is it makes it the most exciting, interesting thing in the financial universe everywhere in the world. And the curse is it can induce anxiety for people that have a short attention span or are focused on a narrow time horizon.
Спасибо, что досмотрели до конца. До новых встреч!